has announced women who have had an abortion and who have been excommunicated, kicked out of the church, can be forgiven. Not only that, that forgiveness can be granted by a woman's parish priest. That's not to say the church no longer considers abortion a moral sin. It does. But Pope Francis says he has met so many women who bear in their heart the scar of this agonizing and painful decision. So joining me now to talk about all of this, CNN religion commentator Father Edward Beck, and to discuss the possible political implications, Republican consultant John Brabender. He was also a senior strategist for the Santorum presidential campaign in 2012. Thanks to both of you for being with me this morning. I'll start with you, Father Beck, because as a Catholic, I was pretty astounded by this announcement this morning.
Well, Carol, you know, the forgiveness of the sin of abortion has always been reserved to a bishop. But what people don't understand is that there are circumstances where the excommunication is not even given. In other words, if a woman under grave fear has an abortion, or if she does not know that excommunication was a result of the abortion, then it is not part of the penalty. So, of course, as with all things with church law, there are exceptions. But what's different about this is that the Pope is saying during the year of mercy, if a woman goes to her parish priest and is contrite and confesses, the priest can absolve for the abortion without having to go to the bishop. That is what is new about this.
Okay, so let's talk about skipping over the bishops in this instance. The bishops, aren't they more conservative, much more conservative than many parish priests?
Well, of course, it depends on the bishop. You can't put all bishops into the same category. There are more liberal bishops and there are more conservative bishops. And this Pope has been appointing more moderate bishops. So it's changing the complexion of the College of Bishops. And I think, Carol, what you have to understand here is that the parish priest might be more conservative, more liberal. So it's kind of hit or miss depending on who the woman winds up with, I think.
Interesting. Okay, so let's talk about this from a political perspective, because as you know, the Pope is coming to the United States at the end of September, and he's going to speak before a Republican Congress. So, John, in light of how some Republicans view abortion, for example, Mike Huckabee compared abortion to the terrorist actions of ISIS. Rick Santorum called legal abortion genocide and called Planned Parenthood cancer. How might they view the Pope's decision?
Well, I think you've got to understand that what this Pope is doing is not necessarily changing the Catholic Church viewpoint on abortion. One thing that's very important about the Catholic faith is forgiveness. And so I think that Rick Santorum, who is a practicing Catholic, would look at the Pope and say that he thinks that this will be helpful because it'll give people a better understanding about one of the most beautiful things about our faith is regardless what sin you may commit, there's always the opportunity for forgiveness and to make it to heaven. And so I don't see where there's a political difference with the Pope here. And as Father pointed out, this is specific to next year, the Jubilee year, which is something that traditionally the Catholic Church does do something like this during that time period.
No, and I understand that, Father Beck, and I want to ask you about that because, yes, it is the year of mercy, right? But the Pope could decide during the year of mercy to extend this new rule, right?
Yes, and a lot of things that happen during the year of mercy, the church sees in its wisdom is something that should be accorded all of the time. And so indeed, Carol, the Pope could decide to extend this. A lot of these issues are being currently debated. We have a synod coming up on family. Birth control is going to be one of those issues. So I think some of these are test balloons, if you will, and it's all within the purview of God's mercy and forgiveness. This Pope is all about that. So I think if there's any movement that's going to happen, it's going to err on the side of mercy, love, compassion, and forgiveness.
And just one last question to you, John, because when the Pope speaks before Congress, you know, the Pope has said of homosexuals, who am I to judge? He talks very strongly, comes out, climate change, we need to deal with it right now. He's this latest thing on abortion. So how will this Congress accept the Pope? Will it make some members uncomfortable? Will he make some members uncomfortable?
Well, first of all, I think you have to understand and separate the Pope when he is talking about Catholic ideology, where he is the leader, and other times where he is just talking as a leader of the world. There are some distinctions there. But again, I think a lot of this is where what the Pope has been saying, what ultimately gets reported can be different. This Pope has become a much better communicator, much more open. It's created a new excitement in the Catholic Church and frankly outside the Catholic Church. And so I think this is more about how he communicates rather than any real strong change in church doctrine.
All right, John Brabender, Father Beck, thanks to both of you. I appreciate it.